this video, I will explain how exercise can make you better at learning, better at retaining information, better at expanding your brain's capacity to learn new things in a new kind of way, and eventually how exercise can make your life so much better by making your brain function at a higher level. I will explain it from a physiology first perspective, because if you understand the underlying mechanisms, you can actually start using it in your daily life. So let's get started. If you are new here, my name is Hassan. I'm a medical student, and just recently I had a physiology exam about this exact topic that I aced. So I'm gonna do my best at translating the most recent studies and best research on this topic so you can start using the knowledge in your day-to-day life. At the end of this video, I'll give you 4 practical steps that you can start using today to get the most brain function out of your exercise. Let's get into it. So let's start by defining exercise properly. In most scientific literature, exercise is divided into 2 categories: cardiovascular exercise and resistance exercise. Cardiovascular exercise comes in different flavors. You can have short duration but very high intensity exercise. Think about sprinters, workouts that includes sprinting for 30 to 60 seconds, 2 to 4 minutes. That is defined as high intensity exercise. Cardiovascular exercise can also be of longer duration. Here it's called low intensity exercise. It's typically when you go out for a run and the run lasts for 30, 40, and maybe 60 minutes. The run will typically be at a steady pace. Historically, most brain studies focused on longer, steady state cardio, like jogging, cycling, swimming, and it's simply because that's what people are doing. But more recently, there's been a shift towards high intensity interval training, and surprisingly, both work. The second category is resistance training. When people think about resistance training, they probably think about deadlifts, squats, shoulder press, etc. And yes, those matter. But most studies done on how exercise affects brain health use single joint exercise, like a seated single leg extension. The reason for that choice is that form of movement is typically more safe to do. You can include older subjects. So what matters the most is not how hardcore the exercise looks. What matters is what it does to your nervous system. Most studies done on exercise and brain functions look at 2 effects. First category, we have acute effects, where you do an exercise and then immediately your cognition gets tested. Chronic effects is where you do an exercise or you do a workout program for a couple of weeks, maybe 2 to 4 weeks or a month, and then your brain functions get measured. The key takeaway from many studies done on this topic was both acute and chronic exercise improve brain function. You can typically expect to see improvement in your memory, your learning improves, processing speed improves. Why does all of this work? This is the most important part. Why do short sprints, long cardio, and resistance training all improve cognition? The answer is actually surprisingly simple. It's because of arousal, specifically autonomic arousal. When you exercise, your nervous system shifts. Sympathetic activity increases. The sympathetic system is the system responsible for flight or fight reactions. So when you see something scary and suddenly you feel the blood supply moves towards your legs, that's the sympathetic system getting activated. When you exercise, your brain metabolism increases as well, and also the blood flow to the brain. So your brain enters a high signal, a high plasticity state, and this state does not end as soon as you stop doing the exercise. There's a window after exercise where learning is enhanced, memory encoding is stronger, and attention is sharper. When should you exercise for learning? So because exercise increases arousal before, during, and after, you can use exercise in a pretty flexible way. So if you can exercise before your study session, great. You prime your brain for encoding. And if you can only do exercise after, that's also good because you enhance your ability of consolidation. So it doesn't really matter when you do it. Exercise works. The 4 exercise types everyone should do. If you want maximum brain benefits, here's the protocol that I would recommend based on the studies and the research that I've done. Number 1, a slow form of cardio, typically zone 2. Zone 2 means you can maintain a pace if you're running or you are able to speak. So do it at least once per week, maybe between 30 to 45 and 75 minutes. It doesn't only have to be running, it can be cycling, it can be swimming, it can be any activity that you are comfortable doing without the risk of getting injured. This will support brain blood flow and long-term brain resilience. And again, you don't have to run. Try to not get injured. If exercise is very important for your brain and you get injured and suddenly you can't exercise anymore, your brain function will not be as optimal as it could be if you just pick a fitting exercise for you. Number 2, high intensity interval training. This could be like 4 minutes of hard work where you absolutely run fast, for example, and you relax for 4 minutes and then you go at it again for 4 minutes and rest for 4 minutes. And you have to repeat the whole cycle of 4 minutes of work and 4 minutes of rest. So repeat the cycle 4 times. That's an example of a workout focused on high intensity interval training. Number 3, resistance training with time under tension. When you're doing resistance training, there are many ways you can do it. And you can probably find hundreds of tutorials on YouTube. But the thing you have to keep in mind is doing slow controlled movements, making sure that you have a strong muscle contraction and keep conscious focus on the working muscle. Number 4, and I must admit, it's something that I do not do enough of, but research shows that it actually helps increase brain function and cognitive abilities, and it's explosive movements and eccentric control. So the big key takeaway here is that you don't need a very fancy exercise routine. You need to find something that works for you, something that you enjoy, and keep doing it consistently and showing up every single week. Because exercise doesn't just make your body stronger, it makes your brain faster, better at learning, and more resilient with age. And once you understand that mechanism, you can start using exercise as a tool, not just a habit. So that was it for today's video. Like and subscribe, and see you next time.